The next speaker is Reinald Bourtembourg. He has been working at ESRF on Tango since the beginning of his career. Then he came to ESO for 7 years, something like that, working on VLT, ALMAP, first prototypes of the ELT. Then he decided that ESRF was unfortunately much better, and he went back. And he is now in the position of telling you what is the status and the recent developments of Tango that you can compare with EPICS.
Okay, thanks for the introduction, Gianluca. So I will do this presentation on behalf of the Tango Controls collaboration. Okay. So the idea of this presentation is to show you the roadmap as it was defined at the last ICALEPCS, and I will show you what has been done on this roadmap. And if we have enough time, I will also show you what was not planned on the roadmap and what was done additionally. Okay, so here is the roadmap as it was defined on the paper in ICALEPCS 2015. So the first feature request from the Tango community was to improve the documentation. Now the documentation has been moved to read the docs, and you can access it directly from there. So before it used to be there used to be a big book with many different files, and they all have been converted to Sphinx and are available at this address. The second point was to move to Git. So the Tango kernel source code used to be on SourceForge and Subversion repository. Now it has been moved on GitHub, and we are using Git. This is a huge step for the Tango community because now we can use many third-party tools for free for continuous integration, for instance, to check the code quality and so on. And we can also benefit from what we call the pull request in GitHub. And so we can get easily external contribution. It's very easy. And we can also benefit from the tools from the GitHub website to help us to review the external request. And we are also using pull requests internally and code reviews. Then the next step next feature request was to remove Corba completely. So the idea of this feature request was to achieve this was to introduce an abstract transport layer and to replace Corba as a synchronous communication protocol and with a pluggable protocol layer. So to do that, we need to remove all dependencies on Corba, the serialization library, and the data types. And the idea was to use 0MQ as the first pluggable protocol, first implementation. So what has been done on this subject? The code has been refactored. So Corba Notif-G events have been purged, been removed from the Tango V10 development branch. There has been some proof of concept refactoring in order to isolate the Corba code in the Tango kernel. And we did some tests with implementing a complex type, Corba type, using an architecture allowing plugins. And we needed as well to change the OmniThread usage to use a C++11 thread. And one thing very important to consider that for the development, we will ensure the compatibility will be preserved all along the way. This is very important for all the sites using already Tango since many years and with having big control system. In order to ensure a smooth transition, we will preserve the runtime compatibility in Tango V10. So this means that Tango V10 will still have Corba, will be able to talk Corba, but will be able to use as well some other communication protocols. And we will try to preserve as much as possible the source code compatibility to minimize the efforts for the upgrade. And okay, then the next step was to grow the community. I will not go much into details about this subject, but the community is growing, and Andy will talk more about it on his talk on Tuesday. But feel free to join us. Then the next point was to specify a REST API for Tango. After some discussion on the Tango forum, this has been done. The specification have been specified, and they are available on this GitHub repository. And there is also they are documented on the reader docs. And there are already 2 implementations of this REST API, one in Java, so the mTango REST server developed by HZG, and a REST.js C++ server developed by JINR in Dubna in Russia. Then next feature request was to have a generic web browser application for Tango. This has been done, and there is actually a new release since last week, and you can even test it. There is a demo version on the Amazon Web Services, and you can get a link on it from the GitHub repository, Tango web app. In the README, there is a link, and you can play with it, and so feel free to try. Then the next step was to implement a secure encrypted protocol for public networks. To be able to have remote access through the web and encrypted communication. And for this, we didn't do much more, since now we have a REST API, so we can use web technologies and all the standard web services, and to allow to use HTTPS as a protocol to encrypt the data. And even if you're not using web applications, you can still use a VPN in any case to remotely access to Tango control system. Then next point was about improving the database performance, because there was a bottleneck with memorized attributes. This has been fixed since the last ICALEPCS. Another point was to develop a place where the community could share their device servers. So this has been done, and this is available on the tango-controls.org website. And here is a preview of the next version that will be released quite soon, where you can even also rate the device servers with putting stars on it. And here is something to help you to understand how to decode these online star ratings. Then another step, a big request from the Tango community was to provide a long-term support version of Tango. So Tango 9 will be the first LTS version, and it will be supported for at least 5 years after the first stable release of the Tango V10. And so this means that the bug fixes found in Tango V10 will be backported, and even maybe minor, simple new features. Then a new Tango Box virtual machine is currently in development, and a pre-release version was distributed actually during the Tango workshop, and it will be soon available on the website. Then another point was to have a way to generate automatically unit tests. So now the the Tango code generator is already able to generate simple tests for Python device servers, and also for Java. There is a JTango Maven archetype, which helps as well to generate very simple skeleton unit tests. And one thing I think which is worth mentioning is that there has been some very interesting work from Tata in India, which is involved in SKA, to be able from a domain-specific language for control systems, so called MNC-ML, I think, to be able to auto-generate some Tango classes and also some test cases, and as well to be able to generate some simulators from this model, and some simple simulators and as well complex simulator with, I mean, you can do very complex things as well, and you can really simulate complex things. Then feature request number 13 was about the SysML support. Not much has been done there, but actually from what was done by Tata, it's possible to generate some SysML views of the Tango state machines. It's not yet possible yet from SysML to generate the Tango code, but you can already see the SysML diagram, but this will be probably done in the future. Then the last point was to replace boost.python for PyTango, because this is with a lightweight version, and so boost.python is used to be able to do the binding for Python, which is based on the C++ kernel library of Tango. And so there have been some investigation to use PyBind 11 as a replacement, and some proof of concept. The first tests are quite promising. Then the cherry on the cake, what was not on the roadmap, but has been done as well. So I will give you a status of the main kernel. So on the C++ side, the code has been restructured. We are using CMake instead of AutoTools for the compilation and configuration process. We have set up public continuous integration, because there was already before, but it was not available publicly, using Docker containers, and we are on the way to have it as well working for Windows. Of course, there have been bug fixes and some new features, like devenym labels for the devenym commands parameters. The one thing important as well is that there is also the possibility for the Tango V10 development branch to release some Debian packages which are available on the Bintray Tango-controls organization. And the major releases will be packaged to official repositories. So this is Bintray. On the Java part, the code has been restructured. There have been some bug fixes. It has been Mavenized. Now it's on a public Bintray repository, and soon it will be on Maven Central. There is already the JTango archetype there. And about PyTango, there is a new release which is including all the Tango 9 new features and some help for unit testings. And there have been some code quality checks, and now it's also available on an official Tango-controls conduct channel. And there is also the LabVIEW binding that now allows you to write some device servers to have some device servers written in LabVIEW. So the conclusion, I would I will say that the story is not over, because there will be a new, I really encourage you to see Andy on Thursday. And I want to say that all this achievement wouldn't have been so fast if there wouldn't have been the Tango collaboration contract and all the support from the Tango community, and especially the Tango steering committee core member and contributing members.
Let's thank Are there any questions? Okay, I have one then, maybe while the others think. Reynald, do you know how many resources is ESRF putting on the development of the kernel, and how much is coming also in terms of contribution? I don't know, maybe Andy knows better than you, but...
Yeah, I think he knows better. Well, we are already several developers at the ESRF, but it's not only the ESRF, actually. We have several core members in the Tango collaboration, which are providing FTEs. And also financial contribution. But on top of that, thanks to the financial contribution, we can also hire external FTEs from the industry. And this has been done, and this will be presented actually by Andy on Thursday.
Any other questions? Okay, then let's thank again Reynald.